And now, Gumption TV presents...
Hello, kiddies, and welcome to another story time with Unky Judas.
Yes.
Yeah. So, we're going to pick up where we left off from our last episode when we were talking about candy flipping, hippie flipping, and flower flipping. Also, I wanted to remind everybody that I had this challenge where, this doesn't even affect you guys, but I'm supposed to beat Donkey Kong Country while in the time of... Oh shit, I already forgot. Alright, I have to tell enough drug stories to cover the time of me beating Donkey Kong Country, and the bet was that I would be able to tell a story for every level, which of course wouldn't work because the stories are way too long and the levels are way too short. So, we're just going to tell drug stories through the entire time of beating Donkey Kong Country, and I guarantee I've got enough drug stories to beat the entire trilogy of Donkey Kong Country.
Nice.
Maybe. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how far we take this, kids. So, without further ado, the final conclusion of candy flipping, flower flipping, and hippie flipping. This one is about flower flipping. Now, as we tried to disclose earlier, we're not entirely sure the differences. Excuse me. But we're pretty sure that hippie flipping is the combination of mushrooms with ecstasy. And flower flipping is the combination of mushrooms with acid.
Right.
And then we have candy flipping, which is the combination of acid with ecstasy.
Right. And you had
So-
some good stories for the first two.
I don't know if they were that great.
I think they were.
You know, I definitely enjoyed hippie flipping. I like that, the combination of the mushroom effects that it has on the body and mind, combined with the effects that ecstasy has with the mushroom. It fucking really worked well together. Then the next time when I tried ecstasy with acid, didn't quite go so well for me. For other people, they might enjoy it a lot, but my first experience didn't go so well. And if you didn't hear it, then go back and listen to our first story. Now this one is about flower flipping, which again, if we're wrong in our terminology, kids, we want you to leave a comment down below and, well, maybe say something about how inappropriate it is that I keep saying kids. This is also, I want to make sure everyone knows, strictly for educational purposes. I'm not trying to incriminate myself or incriminate anyone else. In fact, every one of these stories is probably false information, and I just made them up because, you know, I like to entertain the kids. So, kids, listen up. This is what it's like when you combine acid and mushrooms. At least this is what it was like for me.
I've been waiting to hear the story for a while.
This is one of the most infamous stories amongst all of our friends. And you've been around for quite a while. This is the rattlesnake story. So, again, this story is completely fictitious, kids. Totally made up, 100%. I did not participate in this. I am reading this straight out of a storybook.
Right. The true story book.
This is the true stories and fabled adventures of Judas and his imaginary rabbit friends.
Yeah.
So, once upon a time, Judas and his imaginary rabbit friends were hippity-hoppeting up a place that we call Little Rock Canyon. I mean, Little Cock Ranyon.
That's a good one. I've never heard that one.
It's a place that we like to hippity hop at. So, we're hippity hopping up there, and it was about 5 of us, maybe, and we had all pretty much already
5 of us, maybe.
4 or 5. I can't remember. I'm not gonna. I remember who was there, but I'm not gonna name names. For you know,
may have lost
just because I don't remember. We're just gonna say that I don't remember anybody's name, and it's for the better. Anyways, we're hippity hopping up Little Cock Canyon, and one of the best places to hippity hop at, I would have to say. So about 5 of us had already taken our SID, and we're just hiking all the way up. And we get to a certain point where it's, because there's not really a lot of spots that you can just hang out, but we finally get to a spot you can hang out and smoke for a second. And another friend of ours pulls out some Mario food, and we're just like, okay. So, not too long after that, the Mario food pretty much kicks in.
What's Mario food? Oh.
Think about it.
Okay. Oh, I gotcha.
I mean, there's like one thing you ever see Mario eat ever,
Right.
and it's to help him get big and strong.
Right.
It's nourishing and strengthening to his body. It's like his sacrament. So anyways, we're eating Mario sacrament, and half of us realize, shit, we got to go back down for a couple other people that were supposed to hang out with us, but they were in the middle of a flesh hook tug of war. Oh no, it is a flesh hook suspension. So they met up with us a little bit late, and 3 of us went down to go get them, and me and somebody else chilled up there for whatever the hell reason, because we didn't want to go. I don't know. We needed somewhere to... a reference point. There we go. We needed a reference point. So we stuck around as the reference point, and that's when the vision started kicking in, and I started seeing octopus tentacles, and kind of like how I said on the last story, how acid took over the E. This time, the scoobs kind of took over the acid. And, yeah, I started... Well, it intensified it. It's already pretty booming, and then it boomed. So, you know, I was having some pretty crazy visuals, and then everybody else catches up with us. We pretty much hiked till the trail ended. There was no more trail. It just sort of shriveled off into pines. And we could go no further. So we turned around and we came back. By then the sun was coming up. We pretty much hiked all night. And we came back to the point where you can hang out and there's a little bit of a fire pit. I mean, this whole trail is just kind of it's almost like a dried up ravine where snow runoff comes down a little bit during the springtime, but for the most part it's just rocks. You're just climbing up rocks. So it's not even exactly a trail. I mean, it kind of is, but there's not really anywhere else to go besides just following up this little, this little mini canyon.
Okay.
And there's only like 1 or 2 spots that you can actually pull off to and hang out and chill and have a fire. And this place is one of them. Well, the other one, I wouldn't even recommend having a fire. That one is just way too crazy. But we won't talk about that one. Anyways, so we're all just hanging out. The sun's barely coming up. A guy that we're going to call Nathaniel Boy. Because he came up with that himself while he was trying to hit on a chick at a bar. We all just called him Nature Boy. But for some reason, he was embarrassed of that nickname. And so he's like, oh yeah, they just call me that because, my real name's Nate. And she's like, oh yeah? She's like, yeah, my last name's Boy. It's Nathaniel Boy. So anyways, this guy, he's already up off kind of in the rocks, a little bit higher up, away from the camp, where everybody else is hanging out by the fire. And I venture off to pee, and he's all like, "Hey, Judas, come help me fuck with this snake." And I'm just like, no, I just got done hiking all night. I'm just gonna hang out down here. And he's like, "Dude, come on, I got this snake, bro, you know." I'm like, "Nah, I'm good." So the next thing you know, he's back down in camp with a fucking rattlesnake's head sticking out of his hoodie. And it's a live rattlesnake. I'm not just saying the head. The head's poking out the top. The rest of the body is hanging out the bottom. Like, this thing is writhing in his clenched fists, alive and ready to strike at anybody, at anything, because it's pissed. Yeah. Not a fun situation. You know, we're just coming down from multiple psychedelics, and I wasn't just the only one who combined. There was a couple other people who had RC, called DOI, and, you know, a plethora of other things. So, this is not the best place to just be releasing a pissed-off rattlesnake anywhere within the vicinity at all. And so, he got in the idea to bring this into the camp. For whatever reason, I don't know. He was still coming down from whatever. So he is sitting here starting to yell at us. It's really wriggling in my hands. I gotta put it down. It's getting away. It's about to get away. And we're just like, dude, you can't put it down. It's right next to the camp. You know, seriously, everybody is just a few feet away. And it got pretty much thrown out into the air that if you throw this thing down onto the ground, we're going to have to kill it, because even if it slithers away, we don't want to have to worry about hiking out of here with a pissed off rattlesnake. So one thing led to another. We became primates. And everyone teamed up. We're like, if you throw that thing on the ground, that poor thing on the ground, we are going to have to take its life. Or else one of us may be sacrificed. Keep in mind, everybody was under the influence of a lot of different things. Not just one thing,
bad for the snake at this point.
a lot of things. And I do too. I love snakes. I don't even... And that's why I'm kind of trying to get... Before we get to what happens, which you know what happens next. Yeah. I just want everyone to know I love snakes. One of my favorite pets I've ever had. It was Schnoo. You remember Schnoo?
Yeah.
There's a red-tailed boa that I raised since she was just a young pup that could fit in the palm of my hand. So, and yes, I raised her until she could fit into the stretch of my bed. He looks over at my bed. Yeah, as though she were still there. Just a crinkle in the sheets.
Yeah, Schnoo was awesome.
Schnoo was cool. She was the coolest snake anyone ever met. She cured people of their fear of snakes.
Wow.
You know, a lot of people would let people hold this snake, and they'd never held a snake in their life because they were always too afraid to. Anyways, we're kind of getting off on a whole different story. I love snakes. They're one of my favorite animals on the planet. And so it's not like I'm terribly proud of what happens next. So anyway, we cut the snake's fucking head off. Yeah. He was like, I gotta put the snake down. And I'm just like, dude, if you put the snake down, I got a rock. Because any good Boy Scout knows, if you ever decapitate a rattlesnake, you want to make sure to cover its head with a rock. anytime, because a snake's head, when it's decapitated, could potentially be more dangerous when it's not decapitated. I don't know if you knew that. It could fly.
It rings this weird bell in my head, yeah.
Yeah, it could actually fly out and attach to you. And if it does, then it's just going to pump all of its venom into you.
Yeah.
So,
I've heard that somewhere.
if you really are afraid for your safety for a rattlesnake and you have to cut its head off, then be sure to cover its head with a rock, kids. That's what I mean. This whole thing is for educational purposes. So anyways, the deed was done. One of my friends pulls out his knife and couldn't do it. Right as the snake was thrust to the ground, other friend grabbed the knife out of his hand and pirate swiped him right across the fingers. And that was great. You know, you got this big, huge gash right across all 4 of his fingers.
From the snake?
No, from the knife. He had the knife in his hand, and he's like, what do I do? My other friend grabbed the knife out of his hand and somehow wound up slashing him across the hand. And so he's just bleeding everywhere. Everybody's in a state of panic. You know, just like, oh shit, what do we do? You know, I gotta put it down, I'm gonna throw it down, and it's like 1, 2, 3, I can't do it! And then he grabs the knife, and it's just like, slunk, and I throw the rock on its head, and we're all just like, wow, it's done. Damn. I mean, talk about a fucking adrenaline rush. So, you see this decapitated snake still trying to strike at you. But very slowly, obviously. However, this thing still has a life of its own. And I don't want to get into graphic, morbid detail, but there's a reason why rattlesnakes are the symbol of resilience. Because they will keep going after you. They really will. There's a reason why you cover the head. Is it'll still go after you. After you decapitate it, it still wants to kill you. In fact, it could kill you even easier and still has that potential to strike. And then, after we took the head off, maybe like an hour or so later, hey, thanks for the belch. In fact, that reminds me, I need a swill of beer. We took the rock off of the snake's head, and it was chomping. Literally chomping at the dirt. You know, not just like bite, like it was crazy. And yes, again, we were still under the influence of many different things, but it was a trip.
Yeah.
So, of course, we put the rock back down on the snake's head, and, you know, we at least used the skin and used the rattle. The skin we used for a nice fur coat, and the rattle, of course, we just used for babies, because babies love rattles. And then we ate the flesh, which leads me back to the point I was making. Snakes, rattlesnakes particularly, are the emblem of resilience. That's why they say, don't tread on me, folks. Because even when we roasted that thing, we cut it up into 5 pieces, or 7 pieces, or however many it was, 12 pieces, because there were 12 apostles. But really, no, I think it was like 5. And, no, it was 7. Now that I'm remembering correctly. Each one of us got a piece, and we threw pine needles on the charcoals of a fire that we let die down to maybe give it a little bit of flavor, which it really didn't need because rattlesnake has kind of its own natural oil, you know. It's kind of like duck or other animals that have that natural oil. It's very savory and succulent all on its own. You just cook it right out of the skin.
Interesting.
Sorry, kids. I get a little distracted sometimes. So, the moral of this story is snakes being the emblem of rattlesnakes being the emblem of resilience. Because when I saw Third Eyes take his piece of the snake, which was the neck, closest connected to the head, he was the one who decapitated the son of a bitch. He's the one who took the knife and pirate swiped my other friend across his fingers and cut off that snake's head. And he got the neck piece. And like I told you, after we cut off its head, it kept on striking, but it was really slow. Guess what?
Well,
Even when Fart Eyes stuck that snake's neck over the fire, we'd already skinned it, gutted it, cut it into 7 pieces. It turned and looked at him.
no way.
I'm not making this shit up. It actually turned and looked at him. Where the head would have still been attached, turned and looked at him. While it was on his stick, roasting in the fire, both me and Fart Eyes gazed into the eyes of what would still be a furious rattlesnake, ready to strike and lunge at the one who decapitated it. I mean, this snake was still pissed. Even clear down to the moment where it was being roasted over a fire.
Right.
Don't tread on me, bitch. Thank you all for listening. That's what it was like for me the first time that I combined acid and mushrooms. If you'd like to hear more stories, remember to hit subscribe, or at least hit like, or I don't know, hit your grandma. Make sure to get a few teeth out of it. Anyways, we've got more stuff coming up. We've got a lot of underground local music and all sorts of crazy shiznit. Thank you all for listening.
Brought to you by Derpenschlee. And remember, if it doesn't say Derpen, it's not Derpenschlee.